Our topic is production techniques. So what are the techniques of production? So in this production techniques, the production techniques are very useful to the organization, that is to maximize the profit with the help of lowest cost of production. That is the main purpose of a production technique is to produce the output with the lowest cost, and as well as that is with the help of different type of the techniques, that is to give highest quality as well as lowest cost to the producer. So in this production techniques, the different type of production techniques are, first one is isoquant. So isoquant means that is equal quantity with the help of any combination or with the help of any input combination which gives same or equal quantity to the producer, that is called as a isoquant or a isoproduct curve. Next technique of production technique is, that is marginal rate of technical substitutions. So the marginal rate of technical substitution means that is at which if one input factor is substitute with other to attain a given level of output. To attain a given level of output, lesser units of one input must be compensated by increasing amounts of another input. So that is the for producing same level of output, that is called as a marginal rate of technical substitution. Next technique of a production techniques is, that is isocost. Isocost means that is with the help of any input combination which gives same cost to the producer, that is for producing the output, that is for producing the output which gives as a same amount of money for production. So that is called as a isocost. So in this isocost, that is the producer uses any combination which is flexible to him, that is input combinations are producer choice, but the cost is, that is it gives a same amount for producing a output, that is called as a isocost. And last one is a least cost combination of inputs. Least cost combination of inputs. So least cost combination. Least cost combination of inputs means that is that to choose the combinations, that is which gives lowest cost to the producer, to choose the combination of inputs which gives least cost to the producer, that is called as a least cost combination. So how to choose the least cost inputs, least cost combination inputs? The manufacturer has a lower cost to attain higher profits. The manufacturer's main purpose is, that is to produce the output with a lower cost. That is, if the product is produced with the help of lower cost, automatically it gives huge or higher profits to the producer. The isoquant and isocost determine the input usage that minimize the cost of production. Both isoquant and isocost main purpose is the production. One of the production techniques as a isoquant and isocost main purpose is, that is to minimize the cost of production with the help of any input usages to minimize the cost of production. Where the slope of isoquant is equal to isocost, there lies the lowest cost of production. There is a lowest cost or least cost of combination means, that is the combination of isoquant and isocost is called as a, the combination of isoquant and isocost is called as a least cost combination. That means if you draw the isoquant curve and isocost curve on a same graph, if you draw the isoquant and isocost curve on a same graph, where the isoquant curve touches the isocost, that is that particular point is called as a combination. That is where the isoquant curve touches the isocost, that is the particular point, that is isoquant curve touches the isocost, that particular yield maximum level of output. Any output lower or higher than this will result a higher cost of production. That is a particular point is called as a least cost combination. If the combination, if the point moves automatically, it gives higher cost of production to the producer. So first, if you observe the graph of a, if you observe the graph of a least cost combination, if you observe the graph of a least cost combination, the graph is like that. So this is the isoquant curves. These are the isoquant curves, and these lines are isocost lines. These are the isocost lines. This is the isoquant. This is the least cost combination graph. These lines are called as isocost lines, and these curves are isocost curves. So the point where the isoquant and isocost touches, so that particular point is called as a least cost combination. So that is in the x-axis. If you take as a price of the product, and labor or any input factors on the y-axis. That is, if you take any input factors on a y-axis. If you observe the graph of a isoquant curve, if you observe the graph of a isoquant curve, that is these are isocost lines, and these are the isocost curves. The point where isoquant and isocost touches, so that particular point is called as a least cost combination. For example, if you take as this point is as a P, and for this point as a Q, R. So these are the different points. These are the different points. If you take these points, where the point, the isoquant touches the isocost, that is called as a least cost combination. And if you draw a line, if you draw a line, this line is called as a expansion path or scale line. This line is called as a expansion path or scale line, because that is, if you want to produce another quantity, automatically you extended this line as towards and if you want to decrease the quantity of production, so this lines goes to backward. So that is by extending this line, that is automatically the quantity of output increases. The quantity of output increases or decreases by the help of this line. So this is called as path or a scale line. For example, that is, if you want to produce like that, so that is the, so this is the isoquant, the least cost combination curve. By the help of this least cost combination, that is, if the company wants to produce 10,000 units, it uses this isoquant curve. And if the company want to produce 20,000 units, to use this isoquant curve. And the company wants, that is, to produce 30,000 units, so automatically you draw another isoquant curve. So that is the cost. This is the isocost. Isocost represents the cost. That is, the cost is 1 lakh rupee for producing 10,000 units, and the cost is 2 lakh rupees for producing 20,000 units. So these points are represented as a least cost combination points. And if you draw the line among this point, this is called a expansion path, scale line or a expansion path. So among this scale line, if you want to increase the quantity of production as well as decreasing the quantity of production, so this scale line or this expansion path moves from upward, so automatically production increases as a 30,000 units, 40,000 units or 50,000 units. Or if you want to decrease the quantity of production, that is this scale line moves backward. It moves as a backward. So this is called as a expansion path or a scale line. Expansion path or a scale line. So this is the expansion path or a scale line for least cost combination of input or least cost combination of a input. So this combination, that is that a particular point tells about a what combination gives lowest cost to the producer. That is, if among this point automatically it gives higher cost of production. Among this, if the producer crosses this point, so automatically it gives a highest cost of production to the, take the help of a expansion path or a scale line. Expansion path or a scale line. This is also expansion path or a scale line, because among this path, that is if you want to increase the product output or a decrease the quantity of output, but it gives a lowest cost of production. The point of tangency PQR on each of the isoquant curve represents least cost of combination of inputs which yields maximum level of output. Any output lower or higher than, so this is also called as a margin, least cost combination or marginal rate of technical substitution. So marginal rate of technical substitution is equal to changes in one input by changes in another input. We already discussed in the last class as a, if one input changes, automatically it affects on another input. For example, labor and technology. If you want to increase the labor, so automatically the technology, that is the machines, that is the usage of machine decreases. Or if you want to implement the technology, use high expenses on technology, automatically labor cost decreases. That means machines increases, that is the number of labors decreases. So that is the relationship between marginal rate of technical substitution is changes in one input by changes in another input. So that is called as a delta K by delta R, K as a capital, L as a labor. So if you take as a labor and capital as a combination, if you change the capital, automatically labor also changes. Where the MRTS, marginal rate of technical substitution between inputs, is equal to ratio between the price of inputs. Where the marginal rate of technical substitution between inputs is equal to ratio between the price of inputs. Thus, at the point of equilibrium lies expansion path. I already explained in the graph as a, this is the point where isoquant touches the isocost. So that particular, with the help of these points, if you draw a line, that is called as a equilibrium line or a expansion path. Expansion path refers to the line representing the least cost combination of inputs PQR for different levels of outputs. That means the, for example, if you take as a P as a for 10,000 units production, which gives least cost combination of inputs, and Q as a 20,000 rupees, and R as a 20,000 units of production, and R as a 30,000. If you want to expand the, or if you want to increase the production quantity, so automatically you take another point as a S. So that is the level of outputs. So in the graph, you take on the x-axis as a labor and the y-axis as a capital. That means two inputs, labor and capital. So in this inputs, that is, if labor increases, capital decreases. If capital decreases, labor increases. Expansion path indicate how the production can be expanded along this path. It also called as a scale line. This line is a ready reckoner to decide on the issues relating to expansion or contraction of outputs. That is, it decide to the issues relating to expansion or contraction of a outputs. So these are the different type of a production techniques. These are the different types of production techniques. Now that is we are going to discuss about the what are the different type of production functions. What are the different types of a production function? First of all that is Cobb-Douglas production function. So the other Cobb-Douglas explain about the production function. So that is called as a Cobb-Douglas production function. In the Cobb-Douglas production function, that is a Cobb-Douglas is a one of the person who is working in a manufacturing industry at the time of 1899 to 1922 in USA. That is a Cobb and Douglas are the two persons who are the workers in a manufacturing industries at a production level at the time of 1899 to 1922. They are the workers in a USA manufacturing industries, and they are conduct different type of production, different type of experiments on production functions. So in their company, in their manufacturing industries, the labor and capital are main inputs. The labor and capital are main inputs in the manufacturing industries where they conduct the experiments or where they put forth a production function. So in this industry, the labor and capital are main inputs. So that is they explain the production function with the help of two inputs as a capital and labor. So in this equation, P is equal to B L A C 1 minus A. L to the power of A and C to the power of 1 minus A. In this meaning, 1 minus A and A are exponents for elasticity of production. Exponents for elasticity of production. These measure percentage response of output to change. What is the percentage response of output? If you change the percentage in change in labor and capital. So the A and 1 minus A are exponents for elasticity of production. So what is the use of this A and 1 minus AR? These measure what is the percentage change of output occur by percentage changing in inputs like labor and capital. If you change the labor and capital, that is a what percentage you change. It is what percentage you change the labor and capital. So this affected on a output. So that percentage relationship is that given by the help of a and 1 minus A. So P is equal to 1.01, L to the power of 0.75, C to the power of 0.25. So by applying this, it gives a production elasticity as a 94%, that is 0.9409. So that is the Cobb-Douglas production functions. So in this production function, that is this shows that is 1% change in labor. That is if you want to change a labor as 1%. So P is 1.01. That means that is a 1% change in labor. It gives 0.75 means 75% change on output. That is if you change only 1% labor. So 1% labor means that is if you increase one labor or if you decrease one labor, but its effect on output or production quantity is 75%. 75% of quantity will changes. And at the same time, if you want to change the capital as a 1%, the capital changed as a, if you, for example, machine or a investment money, that is if you increase the machine as a 1 or if you decrease the machine as a 1. But the change on quantity of output is 25%. The 25% changes occur on a quantity of output. So that is by this information, it is clear that is by 1% change in labor gives 75% change in quantity of output, and 1% change in capital gives 25% change in output. So that is the overall, by changing, if you change the labor and capital at the same time, automatically its effect occurs 94% on output. That is a 94% of output changes. That means if you increase the labor and capital, automatically output quantity 94% increases. Or at the same time, if you decrease the labor and capital as a, 1%. So the output decreases as a 94%. So that is the Cobb-Douglas production function. That is the 1% change in labor capital. The capital is the same, is associated with 75% change in output. Similarly, 1% change in capital, labor same is associated with 0.25% change in output. The coefficient of determination R square means that 94% of variation on independent variable were accounted for by variation in independent variables labor and capital. The dependent variable variation is 94% by variation in independent variable as a labor and capital. It indicates constant returns to scale. It indicates constant returns to scale. That means the returns are constant. They do not change by this equation. It means no economize and diseconomize of scale is also occur. That is by the help of this, there is no economical benefit to the company and no economical that is by expanding the quantity or by increasing the quantity of production, there is no economical benefits as well as no economical losses to the company. The small and large plants are also profitable in USA. By this process, the small and large scale plants are also profitable in USA. That average and marginal product cost are constant. That is in this process, that is the average cost and marginal cost were constant. And next type of the production function is Leontief production function. That is the first one is a Cobb-Douglas production function. So by the help of the Cobb-Douglas production function, that is if you change the labor and capital as a 1%, that is the totally it occurs the totally the output changes as a 94%. This is the main view of a Cobb-Douglas production function, and it is useful to small and large scale industries because that is the average and marginal production cost were constant. And next type of a production function is Leontief production function. So this Leontief also explained the production function. Leontief production function in economics. The Leontief production function is a production function that implies the factor of production will be used in fixed proportions. That is, it implies that factor of production will be used in fixed proportion as there is no substitutability between factors. That is, in Cobb-Douglas production function, the factors are varied. That means labor changes, so automatically capital changes. So that is the Cobb-Douglas production function. But in Leontief production function, the factors are constant. There is fixed factors. There is no change in factors. There is no substitutability between factors. That means if one factor increases, the other factor decreasing. That concept is not occurring in Leontief production function. It was named after Wesley Leontief and represents a limiting case of the constant elasticity of substitution production function, and it represents a limiting case of the constant elasticity of substitution production function. So in the Leontief production function, for the simple case of goods that is produced with two inputs, the function is of the form. That is if you take as a one of the simple case as a example, in this case, that is the two inputs are important. That is the only with the help of two inputs, that is the producer produces the output. So that is quantity Q is equal to minimize of ZLA Z2B, where in this Q is the quantity of output produced. Z1 and Z2 are the utilized quantities of input 1 and input 2. That is the 1A and 2B are the two inputs. That is 1A as a first one input, 2B as a second input. And AB are technologically determined constants. And these are the technologically determined constants. For example, for intermediate goods, that is in this example, Leontief explained about the car manufacturing industry as one of the best example for his production function. For intermediate goods, tires are used in the production of automobiles. Tires are used in the production of automobiles. Then in the above formula, Q refers to the number of automobile produced. Q as a quantity. That means what is the number of automobile produced. Z1 refers to the number of tires used. For producing the car or any vehicle, then the tires are necessary. So Z1 refers to the number of tires used. Z2 refers to the number of steering wheels used. Assuming each car is produced with the help of 4 tires and 1 steering wheel. With the help of 4 tires and 1 steering wheel. There is no substitutability occur in between these two inputs. There is no substitutability occur. That means if you want to increase the tires as a 5, but without steering wheel, there is no automobile manufactured, or there is no car manufactured without steering wheel by increasing 1 tire. And at the same time, that is if you increase the steering wheels as a 2, but with the help of only 3 or 2 tires, there is no chance to produce a car or automobile. So this is that. So these two inputs are not substitutes. That is the 4 tires are compulsory for manufacturing the car, and at the same time 1 steering wheel is compulsory for producing the car or any automobiles. In the Leontief production function, number of cars is equal to minimize of 1 by 4 times the number of tires, 1 times the number of steering wheels. So these are the constant. That is for producing 1 car, 1 steering wheel and 4 tires are compulsory. This is the Leontief production function. So in the Leontief production function, there is no substitutability occurs for producing any output. The factors are fixed. So in these situations, that is to produce the output with lowest cost, but it does that the factors does not changes. So this is called as a Leontief production function. And the next topic is return to scale. Next topic is return to scale and return to factors. What is the return to scale and return to factors? Return to scale refers to the returns enjoyed by the firm as a result of change in all inputs. Change in all inputs. The returns means that is the what are the return? Return means income or profit to the company, that is called as a returns. What are the returns enjoyed by the firm as a result of change in all inputs? If you change the inputs, so what are the returns enjoyed by the firm? That is called as a returns to scale. So for explaining about returns to scale, there are different laws who are clearly explained about what are the returns or what are the returns are occur to the organization by changing the input factors. So that with the help of different law of returns to scale. So these law of returns to scale explain about that is what are the returns occur to the organization by changing the input factors. So the first law of returns to scale tells there are 3 laws of returns to scales. That is the return to scale laws are 3 types. The first one is law of increasing returns to scale. Second one is law of decreasing returns to scale, and last one is law of constant returns to scale. First of all, that is the law of increasing returns to scale. So this law states that volume of output keeps on increasing. The volume of output keeps on increasing with every increase inputs. With every increase inputs, where a given increase in inputs leads to a more than proportionate increase in output. That is, a given increase in inputs leads to a more than proportionate increase in output. Hence, the total production increases at increasing rate. Total production increases at increasing rate. That is called as a law of increasing returns to scale. In this law, it is clearly explained that the quantity of output increases by increasing input. By increasing input, that is, if you give more and more raw material, so automatically output also increases. That is, it tells that is the if compared to the inputs and outputs, the percentage output increasing is more when compared to percentage increase in inputs. This is called as a law of increasing returns to scale. For example, if you increase the input as a 5%, but the output increases as a 20%. And if you increase the input as a 20%, the output increases as a 60%. So if you observe the relationship between these inputs and outputs, the increase in output is more when we are greater than the increase in input. So that is the, in these situations, so that is the returns are increasing or in a increasing rate. So this is called as a law of increasing returns to scale. And second one is a law of constant returns to scale. Law of constant returns to scale. This law states that the rate of increasing or decreasing in volume of output is same to that rate of increase or decrease in input. So that is, in this situation, that is the rate of increasing or decreasing the quantity of output is equal to the rate of increasing and decreasing of inputs. That means if the input increases as a 5%, the output also increases as a 5%. If you increase the input as a 10%, the output also increases as a 10%. So the relationship between that is the input and output is constant. That is, if the input decreases as a 5%, automatically output also decreases as a 5%. So this is called as a constant returns to scale. More and more the input if you give, so more and more output, that is the company enjoys. So that is called as a law of constant returns to scale. And the last law of returns to scale is law of decreasing returns to scale. Law of decreasing returns to scale, where the proportionate increase in inputs does not lead to equivalent increase in output. The proportionate increase in inputs does not lead to equivalent increase in output. The output increases but at decreasing rate. The output increases at decreasing rate. So this is called as a law of decreasing returns to scale. So in this law, if you increase the input as a 5%, but the output increases only 2%. If you increase the input as a 20%, but the output increases only 5% or a 10%. So when comparing the relationship between these inputs and outputs, the increasing in input is greater than the increasing in output, or the decreasing in input is greater than when that is the decreasing in output. So that is called as a law of decreasing returns to scale. If you observe the law of returns to scale, the three different laws of returns to scale are law of increasing returns to scale, law of decreasing returns to scale, and the last one, law of constant returns to scale. And next one is, what are the returns to factors? What are the returns to factors? The returns to factors are explained by the help of three concepts. This returns to factor is also called as a factor productivity. This is also called as a factor productivity. Productivity is the ratio of input and output factors. Productivity means output. Output means that is a relationship between input and output is called as a productivity. And the productivity is the ratio of output and input factor. Factor productivity refers to short-term relationship of input and output. The short-term relationship input and output is called as a factor productivity. The returns to factors refers to the output or returns generated as a result of change in one or more factors. Change in one or more factors, the other factors unchanged. Return to factors refers to the output or returns generated as a result of, if you change one or more input factors and other factors unchanged. For example, the different factors of productions are, that is land, labor, capital, organization and technology. From these factors of production, If you change one or more factor, for example, if you change labor capital and land, and the remaining factors unchanged, that means technology is unchanged, organization is unchanged, but what are the returns generated? What are the returns generated? That is by changing one or more input factors. If other inputs are unchanged, that is called as a returns to factor. There are three types of return to factors. There are three types of returns to factor. The first one is total productivity. Second one is average productivity, and last one is marginal productivity. There are the three factors. Are first one is total productivity, average productivity, and last one marginal productivity. First of all, that is the total productivity. The total output generated at varied levels of input of a particular factor. Total output generated at a varied levels of input of a particular factor is called physical productivity or a total productivity. That means what is the total output? What is the total quantity of production occur? That is by using different changed inputs. Different changed inputs. That is by the help of a input factors. That means raw material, labor, technology, organization, investment. By the help of these input factor, what is the total quantity of output gives to organization, or total quantity occur to the organization, that is called as a total productivity. And average productivity. Average productivity means the total physical product divided by number of units of that particular factor yields average productivity. That is the total income divided by number of units you produced. So it automatically gives, that is the average. So that is a total physical product divided by number of units of that particular factor yields average productivity. So that is called as a average productivity, means that is the total output by number of units you produced. That means the total income by number of units you produce. It gives what is the average income to the company. And last one is marginal productivity. Marginal productivity means that is by producing additional units of output. It is the additional units of output generated by using additional units of factors of production, keeping the other factor constant. That means that is what is the additional cost occur to the organization, or what is the additional income occur to the organization, that is by producing additional units of output. For example, every year that is the company produces 10,000 units. That is the company wants to produce additional 100 units. If the company produces in this year, among the 10,000 units, it produces 100 units additional. So by the help of these 100 units, what is the income occur to the organization? What is the, for producing 10,000 units, it gives a 1 lakh rupee income. So by producing additional 100 units, suppose the income is 10,000 rupees extra. So that is called as a marginal productivity. That 10,000 rupees is called as a marginal productivity. So these are the three different types of returns to factors. The three different types of returns to factors are total productivity, average productivity, and marginal productivity. So this is the concept as a what is the returns to scale, what are the returns to factors, what is the law of returns to scale, and what are the laws of returns to factors. So this topic is completed. Today we already discussed about what are the different techniques of a production, and as well as what are the different law of returns and what are the different laws which are the different returns to factors. So this is the today topic. Next class we discuss about next class we discuss about what are the economies and diseconomies of scale. వర్షిత రికార్డింగ్ ఆపమ్మా.